I chain smoke and I say fuck a lot. But I accept myself for the way I am. I accept you too. Viewer discretion advised. I was listening to this interview from Oakland Benta, a senator from the Virgin Islands, on Breitbart, and I thought there was a lot of good info in it. I wanted to share some of it at least. Did you know that the former governor of the Virgin Islands' wife was on Jeffrey Epstein's payroll?
We have on the line right now the former chief of police of St. Croix and senator from St. Croix in the U.S. Virgin Islands legislature, the one and only Oakland Benta. Senator Benta, thank you for joining us here on this on Breitbart News tonight.
Good evening, Matt, and Rebecca, good night to you as well. What's going on here is what should have happened a long time ago, where, as a result of all that has transpired, the federal government decided now, whether it's too late or not, because there's been so many people on the island since Mr. Epstein has been incarcerated, and at the same time there's so many valuable information, evidence-wise, that we may have lost, maybe accumulate a few. But what's going on is that they have seized the island, and they're moving forward in doing what you call probably asset forfeiture, as far as secure what they can, just in the event that the civil actions that are taken by our beloved young ladies and their families, that the property can be auctioned sometime later on at a reasonable price to satisfy a lot of our souls who've been maimed and hurt and destroyed. And I do pray that once the investigation that's taking place on the island is revealed, as a result of so many people within this territory who are the leadership of this government, of this territory, hiding behind curtains as parasites, and maiming the territory, bringing young ladies to our shores from elsewhere and destroying their lives at will, with passion, without consideration for that child or soul. And many of these individuals who perpetrated these acts are fathers themselves. They have children as well. And while under the auspices of the people who live in this territory, not being previewed to seeing it, because it's an island isolated where after a while, there were different things that was built to conceal as they took those young ladies to the island via boat or by helicopter from an aircraft controlled by the government of this Virgin Islands, managed by the Port Authority of this Virgin Islands, where manifests and flight logs and the passenger list, where questions were not posed, even though we knew. So Matt is really active. I'm very happy to see what's going on the island as far as federal investigators. But I'm very upset that our very government, leadership, stewardship of this government, who were part of, participated and turned a blind eye for financial gain.
You know, Senator, can I ask you about that, about turning a blind eye to this financial games that were going on here? We know that Jeffrey Epstein's business was located or registered in the U.S. Virgin Islands, and we also know that someone who, the wife of the former governor, actually was on his payroll, it appears. Can you tell us a little bit about that? It seems like there were some serious officials or connections to people who are, officials, that there were some serious ties between Jeffrey Epstein, it appears, and some high-ranking folks in the U.S. Virgin Islands. Is that correct?
Yeah, that is correct. And candidly, it is greed. They would feed all that he asked of them. There was one point, Jeffrey Epstein, residence in the Virgin Islands, was the resident of the governor of the Virgin Islands, listed when he registered as a pedophile. Under what sun can that happen, where a pedophile can use the estate of the government of the Virgin Islands or any governor's mansion run by the government of the Virgin Islands where the governor resides as their personal residence as a pedophile into our Attorney General's office? So it is greed. And at the same time, while the greed persists, the individual whom was hired under his payroll would approach the schools, offer uniforms for the high school students, and a lot of it with female teams, of course. And when it was discovered many years ago what was going on, the students collectively packed the uniforms in a box and shipped them back to the sender. Now, we realizing that, and here comes the governor of the Virgin Islands' wife, then, knowing this. What human being who sits as the first lady of this territory, understanding the ramification, where your husband is in charge of running the governance of a territory and protecting lives and moving an economy forward as robust as we can, that would allow for the ability of anyone under the circumstances to penetrate our safety of our children mechanism, our schools, our nonprofit organization with children at play, by way of camouflaging, providing financial assistance for the programs, uniforms, so that to me becomes a prowler looking to see what targets they can infiltrate by reaching out to our young souls.
So, Senator, were there victims there that you know of, young women who were victimized by him or his associates?
Thus far in the territory, none has come forward, but those who he has trafficked into the territory, there's young souls who has parents as well, and my heart bleeds because I know they are bleeding and they're brave to come forward and actually say what transpired and name the names of individuals who have been in their bodies. Not around them, but in their bodies, their tender age. Once those children arrive on the island, they were toys, pawned by men at will, outside of the limitation of what the young ladies or those young souls could take. They were being destroyed. It is one of those things when you can look at, and being an investigator as well, we're looking at what happens to a 8-year-old, and in some instances what men would do in order to penetrate their bodies. This is beyond what you can imagine that was taking place with these young ladies, and they still had to maintain that face of comfort to whom they were satisfying, because the fear was so extreme to the submission by men who they would think would protect.
Final question for you before we let you go, Senator. We started off, we were talking about the connections that various officials on the island had to Epstein. That former governor's wife, the former first lady of the island, what's going on there? Is there anybody on the island that you know of who is being questioned?
Well, the groundkeepers are there, but now that it's a federal compound, they're going to bring in their own people to keep the property up, to make sure that no more theft is taking place and that they have a valuable property for auction later. But as far as the wife of the previous governor, who works for him, as the First Lady of the territory, continued to work for him. As the First Lady of this territory, continued to be aware and pretty much made aware of the registry that he was placed under. As a First Lady, continued to spend time with our children, speak with our young ladies. As a First Lady of the territory, knowing what the role of the governor is and what the role, I should have known what the role of the First Lady is, continue to associate, affiliate, perform, and enhance the riches and the ability of Jeffrey Epstein by not saying and not doing what was right for the serious destruction of these young ladies going forward up until he was arrested.
This guy thinks he's the Prince of Zamunda or something.
Good morning, my neighbors! Hey, fuck you! Yes! Yes! Fuck you too!
Fucking stoned.
I got motherfucking spaceship. Oh, fuck. Cool, I got it.